Hi, everybody. I'd like to talk to you really briefly about counter arguments. This is something that I get concerned about as I read drafts for the critical thinking essay. It's an important part of this essay, so I just wanted to provide some extra help and some guidance for you on that as we work on our final touches in editing our paper this week. Okay, so what is a counter argument? You will notice that this is actually a part of your rubric for your critical thinking essay that you need to include a counter argument. So what that means is that you need to kind of understand how other people would disagree with what you say, and you need to provide evidence that your opinion is still correct, even in spite of the fact that other people might disagree with you. You will notice that there are in lesson 6, so last week, um, in part 2, lesson 6, part 2, under paragraph and essay development, there is a whole video series about, or one video about addressing opposing viewpoints. I hope you all had a chance to watch that. Please take a look if you think that this is something that you're struggling with. If the video was helpful, but maybe you need something else, I would recommend taking a look at that transcript. And you can just read it and follow along, and it will describe to you what an opposing viewpoint is and how you can incorporate that into your essay, where you can incorporate that into your essay. There's a lot of grid points there about helping you with that. So please make sure that you review this, just because I see a lot of issues with this in the draft. Okay, so first we're just going to recap really quickly. What does it mean to address an opposing viewpoint or to make a counter argument? First of all, as you're addressing the specific question that you picked in this essay, you need to do a couple of things. You need to, number one, anticipate how somebody might disagree with you. This is actually, we're not just making you do this because it's like something that we think is fun or whatever. This is a really, really good way to give yourself some support, to give yourself a little bit more weight and credence. If you can show me that you've thought through the other perspective on this argument and that you understand why somebody might disagree with you, it will make you, it will demonstrate, I should say, that you have really, really considered your position and that you know what your argument is and that it's important to you. So we ask you to do this because this is only one way to support yourself in the paper. You don't just talk about how somebody might disagree with you because it's interesting. You do it for a specific reason, and that's to show that you can be respectful and that you understand that your opinion has merit even in a wide variety of circumstances. So you anticipate how someone might disagree with you. Okay, you need to describe their position respectfully. You don't need to go into every single in and outs of every single thing that somebody might do to disagree with your position, but you need to describe, at least in one circumstance, what they might say. Be respectful and be unbiased. And then you need to refute the ideas of another person by providing evidence of why you are correct, even in spite of the fact that some groups of people might disagree with you. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of what this might look like. I have taken this paragraph from the student example number 1 that was listed under your kind of your resources for this this writing assignment. So on that first page where you looked at critical thinking assignment, this is where you can find that. Please, I hope you're always looking at these student example essays. They're a great resource and a great example for you. You will notice that as this paragraph is one of their last body paragraphs in the essay. So they've already discussed for me what their thesis is and what their answer to that question was. In order to show me that they've anticipated how someone might disagree with you, they use these transition sentences to say, hey, look, I have discussed for you why I believe that it's important to keep God's commandments in all situations, but now I'm going to talk about what somebody else thinks. So here I've underlined in red the instances where they kind of show, look, this is not my opinion, this is somebody else's opinion. And even though it's not their opinion, they're still being respectful and clear about that. So there may be times when God's commandments seem impossible to keep, this perceived duality, and then they describe it. This perceived duality might lend itself to supporting context for an opposing argument. So opposing argument, they've made it so clear that this is what somebody else thinks. Then in orange, you can see here, for instance, there's another great transition, that they've given 2 examples of why somebody might think that it's impossible to keep God's commandments. They talk about Adam and Eve and working on Sunday. Okay, so it might take you a shorter amount of time to do this, and that's fine, but you can see that they've really thought through why somebody might disagree with them. They've actually, because they've thought through these arguments so much, the fact that they've come to the conclusion that they have seems to have more merit, right? Okay, but you can't just end there. you have to also give me your rebuttal or your refutation of what's going on. So I circled the word however, because if they signal to me that they're talking up here about how somebody disagrees with them, then you also need to signal for me somewhere that, okay, that's what somebody else thinks, but now I'm going to tell you what I think. So we're signaling with that word however that now you're back on track and you're going to provide a counter argument for what somebody else is saying. So they provide their own examples of that specifically touches on both working on Sunday and Luke and also Adam and Eve, right? So this did not change their law broken, but it did allow for them to fix the mistake. So they're saying, yes, somebody might disagree with me, and here's why they might, but I still think this, and I still think that I'm correct because of da 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 da. So I would like you, everybody, to go through in their essay and kind of underline and identify if you've done this. I've transitioned, I've told them I'm going to address somebody else's argument. I've been fair and I've described it, but I've given a lot of space to telling about why I still think that I'm correct. Okay, so here's a main pitfall to consider as you are looking at this in your paper. Sometimes I notice that it's kind of unclear that you're addressing somebody else's opinion. So a lot of times, here's an example. It can be hard to keep God's commandments with exactness, but it's still worth it. Okay, so I don't really know if the fact that it's difficult to keep God's commandments is just kind of one aspect of your argument. Are you just kind of saying, yeah, it's hard, but we can do it? I mean, that's not really a counter argument because you're not giving me specific examples of why somebody might disagree with you. It just kind of seems like you're just sort of waxing poetic on what your opinion is in the first place. So you need to make it very, very clear that your counter argument, that you're addressing something specifically, a specific argument that somebody might have against you, and you're not just kind of talking about something that you already believe. Okay, so to fix this problem, you can try two things. First of all, make sure you have very clear transitions. So I've highlighted some may say, so kind of showing you, look, some other people besides me might say that it's too hard. So guide me through your paper with transitions and make it clear when you're talking about somebody else's opinion and when you're on track talking about your opinion. Also, you can add specific examples. If you give me a little bit more depth in your writing, just like at the very beginning of this class, we talked about writing with details and really showing and demonstrating what we're talking about, that still applies to this essay, even though it's not necessarily a personal reflection type essay. So if I add specific examples, those who believe that commandments are guidelines say blah, 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 right? That really shows me that you're digging into somebody else's argument. However, there are many scriptures that clearly teach us, blah, 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 blah. Here's my scriptures. Okay, so the more depth you can give to this, the more it's clear that you're specifically addressing somebody else's opinion, and it's not just kind of part of your own opinion about whatever topic you've picked. So I hope that this is clear for you. I hope that it's been helpful. Please remember that a huge chunk of your points in this rubric and in this paper is addressing somebody else's opinions. And the reason that we do that is because it helps you to think more clearly about what you believe and what you think. And also because just responding to what other people believe is an important part of higher education. We need to be willing to do that in a way that's both clear and where you stand strong with what you believe, but where you're also able to talk respectfully about what other people believe. So good luck with that and have a great week. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.